Okay, there we go. I think I've got it now. I'm hearing a big echo. And probably I should recommend that if someone is not wearing headphones, you should mute your talk button, please, so that we don't get sound fed back into the speakers. Were you able to upload my slides?
Well, Elizabeth is going to upload them. We are now recording.
Okay.
Let me just click.
Okay, if she...
Hello, everybody. This is Mariana Smolchet, EVO ICT4ELT moderator. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Today is Sunday, 31st of January, and here we are with another great expert talk with Vance Stevens, who is a teacher of ISO and has been active in calls for many, many years. He also coordinates the PLN, Community of Practice Web Has in Action, and has organized weekly seminars at the Learning2gether PB Works that he's going to mention today. He also runs a blog, and he is at the moment situated in Al Ain in United Emirates, right, Vance? Vance and I have been also coordinating EVO Minecraft, and it's such a pleasure working with him, and he's our EVO guru. Vance, mic is yours.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I learned how to pronounce Mariana Smolchet, so I was going to say it's Al Ain and United Arab Emirates.
Sorry, I'm afraid I have to interrupt because I couldn't upload the slides. I don't have PowerPoint on my machine, so it won't allow me to upload Microsoft.
I could upload them, but I probably have to take a moment to do it. It doesn't take long. They're only 10 slides.
No, it wouldn't take long at all. I'm sorry,
Okay, you might have to entertain people for a moment. You have to give me permission as well. Okay, I've got permission. Okay, so I'll just quickly upload. I'm going to probably not be able to talk while I'm doing that. So let's see.
Yeah, we are going to entertain the public.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, maybe we can just put a third mic back on.
Okay, well, if you can hear me, then the PowerPoint is being uploaded, but I'm just wondering if you can still hear me.
Oh yes, there's no problem at all hearing you while it's uploading.
Okay. Okay, well, I can talk then. So I'm going to talk today about, well, I call it Learning Together with blogs and wikis for ICT4ELT. And it's basically, I'm going to talk about Learning Together because it's a good example of how blogs and wikis combine and how the affordances, I utilize the affordances of both of those tools, blogs and wikis, for different purposes. And there are my slides. Okay, so I didn't put these, by the way, I didn't put them on SlideShare, so I may do that later. But anyway, for right now, I just made a quick presentation. I think I'm going to try to run a screen share as well. Let me see if I would do that. How shall I do it? Okay, so, but I can't do the slides. I think I'll run through the slides, then I'll get another set of slides, which these slides link to, and show you a few quick things just about what Learning Together is. We are in a Learning Together session right now. I think it's 314, so this is the 314th episode. We just had 313 a moment ago. Mariana was with us there. That was in Minecraft. Very interesting tour at a school that some German students built in a gymnasium. Well, that is a Hochschule. They built a replication of their school. They started it in 2012 and are still working on it, still building it. So yeah, in fact, if the session leader could put in, maybe you could put in two things, learningtogether.net. That's one place you can go, and the place you can go to see well, actually, this is going to come up in my slides. Why don't I just show some slides? So, yes, so this is, as I said, it was the 314th time we've done Learning Together. We meet weekly. If you go to learning2gether.net, and you put, learning2gether.net in the chat needs an HTTP :/ before it in order for it to be hyperlinked. But in any event, you can get to the last presentation, which was one by Vance Stevens, which she did for our EVO Minecraft course. And but they happen every week. That's actually the archive. All 314 presentations are archived at learning2gether.net. And somebody put in the link to this room, which is not the. Actually, if you go, well, let me just catch up the slides. We'll get all those links here. Okay. Well, basically, this is how Learning Together works. Someone agrees to host an event on a Sunday or a Monday around 1400 UTC is about the right time. Right now it's just gone past 1500 UTC. So that's what Jeff LeBeau used to call the sweet spot. That's a nice time to meet because it catches people as they're just waking up in the West Coast USA. It's a good time for Europe. In Australia they have to stay up a bit late for it. But it catches people from all over the world. And that link to Learning Together, I keep it in a wiki. Okay, so I organize it in a wiki. And the reason I organize it in a wiki is that that's a place where everybody can write. So my idea is that it turns out I do maintain learning2gether.net, but for example, Elizabeth Ann announced an event for the, I believe it was the copyright session that she's mentoring, I believe, and she just wrote it up. She became a writer in Learning Together. Anybody whom I know, I will make a writer. I trust people in our, and even if, you know, the nice thing about a wiki is even if someone does mess it up, you can always revert back to a previous point in time. There are iterations. Everybody who visits there gets an iteration. So anyway, that's the nice thing about keeping a wiki is that you can share it with so many people. And so anytime I agree with somebody to present there, I make them a writer, and then they can put their own materials there. So it's not something that I have to maintain all the time. So the Learning Together, we create an event, usually something social. So we might do it in Hangout on Air, or we'll make a Google Plus event in our Google Plus communities, and that usually that goes out. You can invite all the members of that group. So when we create an event there, it gets announced all over the world, all over, you know, to all the hundreds of people get the announcements. I use a Ning for I announce on a Ning for TESOL Arabia EdTech SIG, which reaches people in my locality, and on Facebook and Google Plus groups. When we announce things, we tag them Learning Together. You can use tags in Facebook. Do you know your tag for this session? Maybe so that you can put it in the text chat. I would imagine it's probably #EL ICT4ELT. That's my guess. But it could have a 16 on it now. No, I'm not sharing video. Can I share a video? Let's see. I hadn't clicked on it. Yes, I can. Okay, sure. Why not? Okay, here I am. Okay, so when we post to Facebook or Google Plus community, we tag things, and I can show you in a little bit what happens to those tags. So then on Sunday, about this time, we'll put on the show. That's the fun part. But then we we follow up on all those shows as well. I have a YouTube channel for the Hangout events. Oh, and even if I make a Blackboard Collaborate recording, I will also, you can render an MP4 from that. I don't know, did you know that? Did you know you can get MP4 and MP3 files from your Blackboard Collaborate recordings? Would you happen to know the name of the software that you use, that you download for free to do that? Anybody know it? I know it's sort of in the text.
I know that, no, I know that if you, it's a service which they are not providing us, because I know that in the page Blackboard Collaborate, then it's a one-click option now.
Well, the software you need is called Publish, and you get it from Illuminate. So if you can download it for free. They used to sell it, but you can get it for free now. It still works. It doesn't work on a PC, but it works on my wife's Mac, and she just went by in the background there. So anyway, it's free. You can download it, and with that software, you can put in the file that you get from Illuminate, the one we get out of our Learning Times list of files. So you can get that there, plug it into Publish, and it will make an MP4, an MP3. It will give you a text transcript, and those are what I use. And then, of course, if you get an MP4, then you can put that on YouTube, and that just all seems to be, space that's free and permanent so far as internet time is concerned. So anyhow, all the artifacts that I get from a recording, I post at learning2gether.net. I just exceeded my, well, I long ago exceeded my free space, and I had to pay $100 a year for it. But now I've just graduated to the $300 a year unlimited storage on my WordPress blog. Learning2gether.net is a blog. So the way this works, you might begin to see, is that we started in a wiki, and then anybody can write on the wiki. So we create an event together, and then once the event is done, then I grab all that material and put it into my blog post, and that makes a permanent record. So that's basically how Learning2gether works. Okay, so anyway, going on in the slides, what's unique about Learning2gether is Elizabeth Ann knows Learning2gether quite well. She knows that all she needs to do if she wants to talk in one of my presentations is hit the talk button, interrupt me, I don't mind. If anybody else has the mic, you're welcome to do that. Welcome to ask questions at any time. I'm following the text chat. We're very interactive. So sometimes we have had presenters who will talk to us for an hour, and but what I really like to do is I like to engage presenters. I like to know something about, or presume that we know something about what they're going to talk about, so then we can ask them about it, talk to them about how they arrived at something, or distract them from something we may not want to hear. Well, I mean, we want to hear everything, but you have limited time, so we generally converse with the presenter. So that's very different about Learning2gether with a lot of webinars that you might attend. And we encourage open mic from participants, and we webcast in all kinds of any media, Blab, Zoom, WizIQ, Adobe Connect. Blab and Zoom were just recent experiments, so if you go to learning2gether.net, you only have to go back a few blog posts to see the results of those experiments. So we stream. I have a technique for streaming. Well, actually, I learned it from Jeff LeBeau. He taught it to me. I've written an article in TESOL EJ about extending Hangouts beyond the 10 people limit. And the way we do that is we the stream. When you're in a Hangout and it's streaming on YouTube, and it records on YouTube immediately after the stream stops. So what some people don't know is that while it's recording, you can actually play the YouTube. Anybody can go to that stream. When you set up an event, or if you set up a Hangout, then the event page that it creates has the stream there. So you can go there and you can hear the presentation as it's being played. Now you can also, because it's in YouTube, you can also take the embed code for that and embed it in your blog or wiki. So at Learning2gether, where we set up the events collaboratively, I put the when you create a Hangout, you get an embed code for that, for your YouTube where it will be published. Just the same kind of embed code that you are familiar with. So the way you embed any kind of YouTube video, you can embed that in your wiki or in your blog, and then you can tell people to go there and watch the stream. But only in the Hangout can you interact with the 10 people there. However, by using a slight bit of magic, you can set up a chat wing. It's chatwing.com/whatever name you give it, and that's a chat that you can have like we're doing right now. It looks very much like the chat over here, and I can talk to people, and I can watch the chat to see if there are any questions. And from the chat, I can see that Maha is here. And Maha is the person who introduced us to Blab. So that's something you might have a look at too. She can tell you more about that. But anyway, so basically, we experiment with ways to try to bring people into our events, so that we're not just putting on events that that the users can't control. Because I find sometimes if I am going to an event that is going to be recorded and they're not interacting with me, I might as well hear it on the recording. But anyhow, and Elizabeth Ann loves, Blab. Yeah, Blab is really nice. Actually, you should try it here at ICT4ELT, and I'll bet Maha would be the ideal person to introduce it to you. So anyway, that's basically how we kind of put on our Learning2gether events. Mariana mentioned that we started, well, actually I started Webheads in Action, or it was called Writing for Webheads back then, back in 1998, and there is a link that you can actually go to, and I think all these links, I will make sure that you have them somewhere. These slides are not online yet. I just didn't have time. I got quite caught up just several hours before this, but I was working on the slideshow earlier, and I just never had a chance to put it up on slideshare.net. But when I do get it up there, you'll have the live link, so you can go see the original Webheads from 1998. It was a student group. Eventually I wanted to, we got a lot of interest in that group from teachers who wanted to learn how we were interacting with students, and so Webheads in Action came along. Webheads in Action was started in 2002 as an EVO session. EVO, you may or may not know, started in 2001. That was the first one, and in 2002 I proposed to put on something about community building to show teachers how I had nurtured the Writing for Webheads community that they had been so interested in. And also I wanted to create a group for teachers because they were suppressing the student voices on the Writing for Webheads. So from that, Webheads in Action started in 2002. By 2003, we had grown dynamic enough to create our first Webheads in Action online convergence. That was about the time that Facebook came along, and Moodle was invented about that time. And the only other free online event that I'm aware of before then, K-12 Online. Peggy George is very active in K-12 Online. You probably know Peggy. And anyway, that started in 2006. So we went on in 2007 and 2009 to have other online conferences. But I didn't want to keep doing that year or every other year. It was too much of a strain. And so I decided to do that once a week instead of having one 72-hour, no sleep, 72 hours, yes, I think it was a three-day conference. So you could have 70, 65, 60 presentations in that time. I figured, well, why stay up 3 days in a row? Why not just do it once a week at our own pace, and that way we get 52 presentations, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. So anyway, don't see any questions for me in the text chat, but if anyone has them, just put them there.
It's okay, I'll tell you if anyone asks.
Yes.
No, I was just saying I'll tell you if anyone asks a question in the chat. Everyone was just talking about screencasting tools.
Okay. Well, all these networks I mentioned, Webheads in Action, well, the Webheads in Action Online Convergences, Learning2gether, they're all part of a network. EVO is one of the most important aspects of this network. And the ICT4ELT actually derives from becoming a webhead, which is where a few people who had been in the original Webheads in Action EVO session took it after that, because I kind of went on to do other things and sort of changed the direction of my thinking. But the people who like to introduce people to this manner of networking and interacting with one another and learning from one another, they're the people who have perpetuated the webhead, becoming a webhead stream, which eventually evolved into ICT4ELT. So this is a very strong link between us. And Nellie Deutsch has also been, she has so many of her own activities. ICT4ELT Young Learners SIG, for example, blog festivals, Moodle MOOCs. We've got Connecting Online coming up next week. I've got to make another presentation. Okay, so yeah. So anyhow, but that she's doing things all the time, going on for. I think this is a weekend, 3-day event, Connecting Online next weekend. And we also, speaking of Peggy George, we interact with Classroom 2.0 and Learning Revolution, which are kind of Steve Hargadon's associations. And from that you get ISTE conferences, K-12 Online, which I mentioned, Global Collaboration Day, Global Education Conference. These last two are really cool. The reason they're so cool, Global Education Conference, for example, Shelley Terrell is an organizer for that. The neat thing about that conference is that they encourage anybody to create a presentation. They use a Ning. And Ning is not exactly, well, it's kind of like a blog. It's more like a blog, but it's collaborative. So I guess you could call it a wiki, or you might even call it a learning management system, or content management system. But basically, it's collaborative. So you use a Ning, and you create a blog post basically on their Ning, and that becomes your proposal. And they'll actually negotiate with you to help you to couch it correctly so that it will be acceptable to them. And then once it's accepted, they give you another piece of software where you can go and schedule it. So it's completely grassroots. Anybody can do it, and it's a great experience, and just a dynamic conference. And I mentioned Jeff LeBeau earlier. He's responsible for the World Bridges Network. He's in Korea now, so he's doing Korea Bridges. The reason he's been so influential on me and other webcasters is he also ran a webcast academy at one time, which was sort of a way of crowdsourcing webcast knowledge. That was before it became quite simple to be a webcaster. Another of his efforts is EdTech Talk, which I think Dave Cormier is actually one of his collaborators. He's kind of the person responsible for that. ELT Live is what he's doing now, or most recently. He was doing that for his students in Korea, so he was doing things like cooking shows where they would come on and hang out on air and talk to, well, put on shows basically, really compelling watching, something that your students could do. And then and Webheads in Action, if you want to know more about Webheads in Action, webheads.info is where there's a portal with links to all its different, like for ICT4ELT is probably linked there, and if it's not, I'll make sure it gets there. So we also use a lot of Google communities and Facebook groups, and some of them, for example, are Learning with Computers, the TESOL Arabia EdTech SIG. I'm in an Arab country now, so that's my local network. A few communities I've set up, one called Multiliteracies, Webheads in Action, Learning Together. These are communities that I don't know, they probably overlap quite a lot. I'm not really sure. I see them as three distinct communities, but I realize that they certainly do overlap. Google Communities, Web 2 Teaching and Learning, for example, Web 2.0 Teaching and Learning. The person who started that, I think, was Fanny Passport, and then she decided to sort of hand it over to me because I was posting there. I spam these groups, by the way. Anyway, Teachers for Interactive Language Learning, are you familiar with that one? It's got several thousand members. It's run by Benjamin Stewart. It's also active in the Learning Together communities. And Webheads in Action, of course, MultiMOOC, this is the Multiliteracies group, something I started with some colleagues here in UAE with only 12 or 13 participants right now, called EdTech Mojo. I'll look that up, though. A couple of years from now it'll take hold. And then, of course, Learning Together. So, okay. ResCon, there's a good one. Yes, Future of Education, that's another Steve Hargaden's. I would sort of group that back with the Classroom 2.0 and Learning Revolution umbrellas. Future of Education is one of those umbrellas, and ResCon is it differs from Global Education Conference in that you have to be invited, but it's kind of organized the same way. Once they invite you, you put in your proposal, and it's also a great free event. All these events are free. So, as Stephen Downes says, content is free. So basically you have to learn how to, if you need funding or money, then you have to learn how to work around free content. But the content has to be free. Main components of Learning Together, as I mentioned, there's wikis and blogs. And in the wiki, learningtogether.pbworks.com is our planning wiki, the one that people can join and become writers if they want to plan it. I've got a tiny URL for the place you go exactly if you want to land on this event that's scheduled right now, episode 313, which just happened last hour, and episode 314, which is happening right now. If you go to tinyurl.com/learningtogether, then that will take you to the latest thing, because whenever an event takes place, I grab its announcement and I put it back into a last week column, and then once a week I create a blog post which archives Learning Together for that week in the blog, in the Learning Together blog. And that's the audio video archive with show notes called learningtogether.net, and that's a WordPress blog. The reason it's a WordPress blog is I started it in Posterous a long time ago. Posterous went under. WordPress made it very easy to just grab the content and stick it into a WordPress blog. So I managed to rescue all the content from Posterous, which I really loved. Twitter bought it, by the way, and sort of drove it under. Twitter is owned by who now? Can't remember, but anyway, somebody's out to consolidate. No telling what's going on in the world these days. 65 people own half the world's wealth, according to Oxfam. Anyhow, that's another topic. So I also have an index of recordings. Actually, this is the most useful place. If you go to the learning2gether.pbworks.com and you look in a wiki, you always have a sidebar, and you should use it. You can edit the sidebar. So the sidebar on the right-hand side has a link to the recordings. And that's the easiest place to go if you want to get a good overview. We'll have a look at it in a minute. I'll get onto the web tour. Just I'd like to mention that Learning2gether has no funding. I did mention that it's actually costing me a few $100s a year for the hosting, but still, for example, this facility that we're using right now, Blackboard Collaborate, is on a grant from Learning Times. We should really show our appreciation as much as possible. They're paying Blackboard for us to use this, but we've been working together for years, and they're the sweetest people. They keep renewing our grants year after year, and I might mention that if you're going to the T-cell conferences, when they webcast from there, they're using Blackboard Collaborate from Learning Times. So we try to call attention to the fact that they're really supporting all these endeavors, and you know, they're a business. So actually, they put on webinars and they make their money doing that, but they also have a little bit of generosity, and that's resulted in our having this facility for well, I'd say well over 10 years, the last 10 years, maybe even 12 years, something like that. So, and also World Bridges, there is a space there called Jeff LeBeau took out a domain called webheadsinAction.org. I try to use it. We should try and visit it. We should do a web tour and try and visit these spaces. I'll just show you webheadsinAction.org. Let me just go over to a web tour here. So let's see. There's a full URL. Jeff runs this site in a Drupal, but so it's actually here. It's kind of like a blog, or it's actually a content management system. I think I put in the right URL. There it is. Okay. So at the live studio, you can see an example. You could do this in a blog or a wiki. You could set up something like this. This is basically the last time we did a Hangout on Air with Benjamin Stewart. There's the video embed that we always put the video embed here. Oh, by the way, you'll have to stream. You have to scroll. I can't. I'd have to do a screen share if I wanted to scroll for you. I don't know. Do you want me to do a screen share? Would you prefer that I do that? Well, anyway, yes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say yes, do the screen share. I was trying to share the screen before you came, not very successfully.
Okay. Well, sometimes it's not, you know. It depends on it's bandwidth reliant. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to try to share my browser here.
So it takes up less space, less bandwidth. Do you think?
Web tour takes up less space, less bandwidth. Yeah. Okay, I'm getting my screen share starting. Tell me if what you're able to see. I'm fine. I'm getting pretty poor.
Yes, next screen.
No, it's coming in now. Okay.
It doesn't show limit. Can see it now.
Let's see. Okay, I must be, no, this is actually sharing my whole desktop. I didn't really mean to do that, but eventsaction.org. Okay, tell me if you're able to see what I see. It's not there yet, because even my browsing is slow in a screen, in a web share. But anyway, can you see it now? Can you see me scrolling on this page? There we go. Is that scrolling for you, or is it coming out in a set of horizontal stripes as it loads in?
We've got the horizontal stripes coming down. We're down to Benjamin in the middle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, so basically what I was telling you earlier, in a blog or a wiki, you can create a hangout, and you can have your stream there, and then below that is a chat wing chat. I don't know if you can see that okay. But so that's our space. That's what a blog space or wiki space looks like when you set up a live event and a hangout on air. Then you can have the video, which everybody can listen to, and everybody can interact in the chat wing chat. So I use webitsaction.org/live just because I want to honor Jeff LeBeau, basically. Okay, I'm going to go to a slide, a bigger slideshow that has live links. This is on SlideShare. So let's see. Oh, this is an advertisement of theirs. Okay, here's the. Can you see the slideshow? This is what the Learning Together space looks like. Now this slideshow, let me just put this link into the text chat. If I can get, if I find the text chat. Okay. Maybe I'll do this in a this is going to be a little bit cumbersome. I'm going to turn this off, and let's see if I can turn that off. Okay, but I got the link I'm going to. I can do probably better in a web tour. I just hit the stop button, but it didn't stop. So web screen shares are really laggy. Is it impacting my voice at all?
No, the voice is okay. But yeah, that's it. We're coming over to the web tour.
I think it's switching off now. Okay, I got that back. Okay, so I'm going to go into a web tour. Put that link in there. So this is another slideshow, one I did for the Fall Blog Festival. I'll paste it into the text chat in case anybody wants to watch it there. So there's a link you can click on in the text chat, and you should be able to see the screen share. Let's jump down at the bottom here. Okay, I've got some. Ooh. Okay. Anyway, something is covering up my. Okay, that one. Says, that was the reason I was late. By the way, I've been here before today, and there. Now I've got it working. Manipulate it. Okay. I had an additional. I had a meeting file from before. As I clicked on that, and that didn't work, so that was why I was a little bit late. Okay, so anyway, here's something that gives you live links, and this gives you the links that I'm pointing everybody at. I'm just trying to advance the slides. So the slides are not advancing. Here we go. All right, so let me pop up a little bit. This is from. Okay, this is about Learning Together. So basically, this is the Learning Together wiki page looks like. So that's a PBWorks wiki page, and there's its link, by the way. That link should work if you go to the actual slideshow. So
We're not going through your slides with you. Yes. We're still on the first one. Or I am still on the first one, sorry. We haven't moved. No, okay. I think we're better off looking at it in the... I think people can click on the link and look at it there.
Yes. Yes, you could. Okay, well, it might catch up. I just went straight to slide number 7.
Excuse me, can I interrupt again? Because, of course, Maha's got the answer that everyone can click on the forward button themselves and move the slide share themselves.
Oh, of course. Oh, yes, of course. Oh. Okay. Am I doing it? I'm doing it in a screen. Yes. Okay. I see. So it doesn't actually go to the other page. Of course not. Silly me. Okay. Well, let me just go to the places that I'm trying to send you to. Let's just do it live here. So I'll just put in.
As Ellen is saying, which slide are you on now? And we can go there. Each of us can click on it and go there.
Well, I'm on slide number 8, and then I'm going to go to 9. But basically, let me just show you in. Suppose I go to that tiny URL. I'm going to put in tinyurl.com/learning2gether. Okay, so I'll just go from slide to slide now. So I'm going now on a screen share to a link that you'll all be able to see. So this is Learning Together. Can you see that? For some reason, I'm not going to the very... Oh, because it takes you down to the next upcoming events. Exactly. tinyurl.com/learning2gether takes you to upcoming events. So let's see, you can see the archives. If I click on the archive link, that should take you to the archives, which are, I'm clicking there. And by the way, maybe another thing I can do is I can put the links that I'm going to. Okay, there we go. So I put this link into the chat. Now I hit on learning2gether.net. That takes you to the I went from the wiki now to the blog. A blog is a space, differs from a wiki in that only one person basically controls it. You can share a blog. You can have collaborators in a blog, but its main purpose is to put your opinions, something's fixed online. So I just pasted learning2gether.net into the text chat, and here we are at learning2gether.net. So I won't scroll here because you wouldn't be able to scroll with me, but basically there's a sidebar there, and you can see at the sidebar, you can, on the left side, you can find previous episodes. Yes, Maha, you're correct. You are on Archives with Bronstecky. I think the glitches were probably had to do with the screen share, which is not really a very good way to navigate in Blackboard Collaborate. Okay, so let's see. If I go back, this is the upcoming events. I'm going to click from here over to. I'm trying to get to the archives for. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to scroll up and go to the archives I mentioned. You don't have to scroll up. I'm just. Okay, so this is the archived listing of past events at Learning Together. It's also in a wiki. I just clicked on it. So it's taking its time. I'm not very happy with the lag and hitting the links. Let me see if I just get its link location. A better way to do this is to go to browser and actually copy the links into the. Let me go there. Let me do that. So I'm going to have to get where I can navigate. This is a little bit frustrating, and it's also running slowly on my system. Well, anyway, maybe why don't we just discuss. I've probably done enough damage. Maybe if you have questions, we could talk about your questions. From what you've seen so far, what would you like for me to explain further? So at least we have voice. Maybe would it be possible for people to take the microphone if they want to talk? I think the point of the presentation was to show you how wikis can be used collaboratively to organize things. Okay, that's a good question. Maha's asking, what's the advantage of PBWorks compared to other wikis such as Wikispaces? Some people do like Wikispaces. Wikispaces did something a little naughty recently. They withdrew support of non-educational blogs. So if you happen to be keeping records of subscription Wikispaces, that turned out to be not a good place to leave it. The story goes on. But anyway, Elizabeth wants to say something.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that a lot of participants have problems by going into Wikispaces, and they are finding that they can't share. It's really strange when you look at what they say the prices are for subscriptions, and it's really difficult to find. They're really expensive, and the thing still says free, and then a minimum you have to pay $1, which is the same for many years. But it's a lot of our participants made their wiki and then couldn't share it, so it was really distressing.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, I haven't created any wikis in a long time, and I also found out that by writing to them, I could recover wikis that they had made unavailable to other users. So I think they're really getting a little bit more into the monetary aspect. So that's probably not a good way to go. Whereas PBWorks is quite nice. It's always worked very well. The only thing they do is that if you haven't been on your space in a year, they might delete it for you. And what you need to do with PBWorks is you need to go through your list of wikis. I think Elizabeth mentioned she had about 20 of them. I might have twice as many. But I do have to monitor. You can get a list of your wikis in PBWorks and see when the last time was you visited. And you can sort that by date. So I look at that frequently, and I go into anything that I haven't visited in the last 8 months. I go visit it. In fact, I even have something I paste at the bottom of it that says that this wiki was last visited on this date. So the best thing to do is, if you're really concerned about your PBWorks wikis, just go back to your wikis list in your profile and visit your wikis every now and then. So otherwise, you might miss a mail and lose a wiki. But another good wiki is Google Docs. Google Docs is an excellent wiki. You can set up a web page, a home page. You can set up several pages in Google Docs, and you can link them. So it's also a wiki space. It's a lot of control, a lot of options on how you share them with other people. They're very transparent. It's kind of like putting a Word document right on the web and linking it, and then you can create different spaces. It looks just like a wiki, like a PBWorks wiki. You just have to keep it straight in your head what it's doing. But that's that way for any wiki anyway. Yes. Elizabeth is mentioning the triage system from Gmail, where all of a sudden, they decided they would help you sort out what you wanted to see, and so you miss all the stuff that comes under promotions. And I never really.
Yeah, no, I at first I created a second email because I didn't realize that I could create several PBWorks, and so of course the ones I created with an alternate email I lost, the ones I missed when they brought out this triage system, I lost. But ever since then, I get my email saying, click here if you want to keep it. And it's just a one-click, you know, don't throw this out, please. I just find it amazing that they don't have a limit on the number of wikis you can create.
Yeah, or on space, apparently. I mean, I put all kinds of stuff up. Sound files. I've never had a space issue on.
No, but as soon as you upload,
of course, if you
upload a large file of any kind, you know, sound or other, it gets very clunky because you can't directly listen to it. You have to go to a download space, and whereas it is just a host, you know, a host for embeds, I think.
Yeah, Svetlana mentions that she has wiki spaces for education, and I was able to keep all my education wikis just by saying they were education wikis. So I try to be honest about that, and also, of course, you might lose something if you say it's an education wiki. It obviously isn't. But yeah, all my education wikis and wiki spaces are there. The same system. I just get an email, and even if they take it down. By the way, I wrote them and found this out. If they take it down and you lose it, there's still a way you can get into it and request that it be reinstated. They haven't really deleted it. It's not really lost. So I did that with a few of my wikis, which I thought I had lost, but I wrote to people and they told me, well, you go through this little, go down the bottom of the page, you click here, and sure enough, it works. And when I requested that they reinstate them, after a couple of weeks they did. So they seem to want to work with educators, but like you say, you know, it's this niggling, yeah, you know, that makes it a little bit of a hassle. Triage. Triage is if you're if you're a medic on a battlefield, or if you appear on a disaster scene or a car accident, and there are several people injured, the doctor has to quickly assess who needs immediate attention, who needs who you can forget about for a while, and who just needs stitches, you know, that sort of thing. So it's a triage. It takes disaster areas like your inbox, and it moves it into things it thinks you want to see in your social networks, and then promotions. And so by triaging it that way, by separating your disastrous inbox, unfortunately, having someone else do that doesn't really work all that well.
I had absolutely wonderful error from this group I belong, which is called Positive Money, because it's rather than being anti-capitalist, it's talking about an alternative way to organize money in society. And of course, Google blocked it. I was saying I'm not getting anything. Of course, it was in the promotions, the sales category, which is quite funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so I think, you know, in Webheads we've come up using wikis, and of course in becoming a webhead and in ICT4ELT collaboration, you know, wikis lend themselves to collaboration, and with Google Docs you can share something with anybody. Anybody can write on it. Anybody can see it. You can share it that way, and that's a really great way for crowdsourcing. The only disadvantage being that if there is any problem, you can't revert, because if people come on to your document without credentials, then you aren't able to go back to where they were before, because nobody really keeps track of that. But so I find it's best to, like with Learning2gether, I don't just open it to anybody to write on. If someone asks to join the space, I allow them, but as a commenter, unless I know them, and then I allow them as a writer, or if they write me in advance and say yes. You know, anyway, if they're associated with ICT4ELT, no problem. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that in Learning2gether, we encourage people like yourselves to come on and talk to us, give us presentations, talk about anything you like. You can, if you have an expertise, and I'm sure many of you do, you can present your expertise, or if you just want to know something, propose a topic, and we'll talk about it. We'll find experts. So, and theoretically, if I know who you are, I would expect you as a writer, and you could find this block in the wiki and write it in, just like the wiki.
Just before we completely lose the subject of PBWorks, I was very pleased to read in the e-textbook where in the e-textbook session of EVO is the people are really completely on the latest tools, and I was very pleased to read the other day that one of the moderators was saying the only really totally interactive space which you can integrate everything is PBWorks.
Yeah, that's what I do nowadays. I organize all my classes that I teach in PBWorks. I have something called Vance's class.pbworks.com, which anybody can look at. And I organize all my classes there. My students all go there. We use Blackboard at my school. Blackboard, if they go there, they can't find what they're looking for, and it's very slow. I can, in my PBWorks site, I can put the link to it in Blackboard. It's much faster, much easier for them to find than if we go through the front page and try to figure out all the menu structures in Blackboard. You know, so wikis are just great. You know, you can organize everything in a wiki, but they're really good for students, I think. They help you organize your class and organize your head around the classes you're teaching. So how's everybody enjoying the session so far? The ICT4ELT. How many participants do you have?
Well, as with all EVO sessions, we have quite a large number of lurkers. I would think we have about 70 people who are active, with closer to 200 enrolled. So I guess the others are lurking. And I would say to anyone, because I can see there are some new people here, I would say that this idea of lurking, that is to say joining and not participating, but all the same reading the things, is quite a sort of normal and acceptable first step, because it does take quite a lot of courage to actually put yourself out there, I think. I'm the great defensor of people who daren't.
You could have lurkers in your group who are very active in other communities. So it doesn't mean they're inactive. They just are overstretched. Or you yourself, I'm sure, are lurking in quite a lot of communities. You know, if we really get down to it, I'll bet you're lurking at least 100 of them, Elizabeth. But anyway, there you are. So there's nothing wrong with lurking. We all do it. That's how we learn. Just keep our ear to the rails, you know, as the Indians used to do in the Wild West.
Listen, that was absolutely great. I think that we are actually coming up to the hour, so I think that and people are starting to have to go. And it is so kind of you to have joined us, Vance. I
Always
think
my
it's
pleasure.
a bit, so we'll do a write-up on the session page. Okay, we'll get the slides there, and the links will all be available there on our session page.
Okay, and you'll find them at learning2gether.net as well, and you'll find them in the archive that I showed you. Everything is archived there, so whatever links I become aware of will get archived at learning2gether.net, along with the YouTube rendition of the of the Blackboard Collaborate recording that we're making now, and also an MP3. So I'll get all that stuff and I'll put it at learning2gether.net. And of course, it's all open stuff, Creative Commons shared, and you're welcome to use it and put it on your own blog. So anyway, I appreciate your helping us all to learn. All of you here are helping us all to learn. we're all learning from one another. So I'm putting on an EVO Minecraft group right now. I'm one of the moderators. I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. So I went to the session tonight in somebody else's build, and he said you can't fly here because it's in survival mode. I said, well, how do I get up there? He said, well, you jump. I said, how do you do that? And yeah, you're supposed to know. This is just basic procedure. But it turned out that there was somebody else there, also in the EVO Minecraft, who also didn't know how to jump. So, you know, there you are. I told him, wow, we learned that. You know? So you just never know. It's just by interacting in these spaces you're going to learn. And that's the way we keep alive and active all these years. Okay, well, I'm getting lots of thank yous from people in the text chat. Thank you very much for coming. It's very stimulating to be able to talk to you. So this is Learning Together episode 314, the 31st of January 2016. I always put that in the Learning Together episode. It's also, of course, the ICT4ELT week 4 sessions in EVO sessions this 2016. So, a pleasure to be here. Just checking to see we're still recording.
I see.
Okay. So